Hey guys, welcome back. The title of the video is going to be Leave Your Emotions at the Front Door When Investing in the Stock Market. Leave them behind. Now, today I saw a bunch of people on Facebook, mainly liberals, complaining that, Donald Trump with these massive tariffs have destroyed, people's retirement accounts. Okay, now that might be true in the short term, but people who are invested in the stock market should know better. When you are investing, you are going for the long term. We're talking 5 to 10 years. That is the outlook you need to have, and you cannot be emotional when it comes to investing. There's going to be volatility no matter what. There's always going to be geopolitics. There's always going to be some leader somewhere in the world who wants to play power, okay? So, leave your emotions behind when you get involved in the stock market. Now today, I also saw in my private stock group, this is a stock group I've had over the years. It was left over from Jeremy Lefebvre. I had met some people on there, and we had started a second stock group on Discord. Our own personal little private group where, we talk stocks, mostly Tesla, obviously, but we talk a lot of other stocks as well. And most of the guys there, they're pretty conservative. One of them's like a libertarian, but we get along. We fight a little bit here and there because I'm probably more in the middle than he is. But, we talk stocks and we talk the market and all that. He would always say, oh, there's the Biden bear market and all this stuff. So we always have fun with that. But one guy today said he regretted his vote for voting for Donald Trump. Hey, there's some deer back there. Anyways, he was all emotional today about the market dropping 5% yesterday and then 5% today. All over, these tariffs that Donald Trump had. And he said he regretted his vote. And I'm like, really? Really? You're going to get emotional about that? He's a nice guy. I think he's a bit younger. He's probably all upset. But at the end of the day, were you going to sell your position tomorrow? It's an opportunity. And to be honest, the emotions you should have is to be greedy and to get excited when you see a 10% drop in the SPY in 2 days. That is the time to get greedy with your emotions. Not be fearful, not get scared. That's when you get greedy, and you probably, to be honest, maybe you should be thanking Trump now that you have an opportunity to buy some quality companies. All right. Now today's April 4th. I bought 20 shares of NVIDIA under $100. That's a steal deal, in my opinion, for the next 10 years. I also bought some AMD, and I bought I added to my Apple position. I bought 5 shares today. I figured under 190 bucks, that's a steal deal when it comes to a great quality company with Apple. I'm not playing with my emotions. I'm playing this as the long-term game. Whenever there's big, massive dips like this, you buy, okay? I'm not a financial professional. I can't tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. This is just my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes. And I say, man, this is a great buying opportunity if you're interested in starting a position in the stock market, or you want to add to your position. If you've got 10 to 15 to 20 years down the road, I recommend buying at this point in time. These trade wars, a lot of it is posturing. Are these trade crazy numbers of 56% on China going to remain? I doubt it, to be honest. But if you let your emotions get to you, here's what happens. This is always what happens. In the stock market, you get 2 types of emotions, fear and greed. And typically, it's always the opposite way to build wealth. You get greedy and excited when the market's pumping up, and then you buy the top. And then you get scared and fearful, and you sell the bottom. And that is typically what happens in the stock market. Every single time we get these periods of volatility, waves of up and downs, people buy the high and they sell the low. and they think the system's rigged. Well, it's not. It's because you're allowing your emotions to get the best of you. You need to take the opposite approach when it comes to investing. You need to be greedy when everyone else is scared and selling their shares. And you need to be scared when everyone else is buying. Okay? When the dumb people are buying the top, you sell. All right? It's a weird feeling, honestly, emotionally, when you get into that space where you do sell the top. It's a weird feeling, and you do buy the bottom. It's scary, yes. There's money on the line, but that is how you win in the stock market. I mean, like when I sold Palantir just recently at 111 a share, I knew it was way overvalued and people were euphoric. They were emotional and just buying and buying and bidding and bidding and bidding. So you sell into that bid, all right? And then the opposite happens. You cycle that profit into when these dips happen. These lows, 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 lows. People get fearful, you nibble. You nibble, you nibble, you nibble. That is how it works. And you take your time. This drop is not done. This will continue until we have clarity from a geopolitical perspective. That is how this works. So if you are positioned, if you have a little bit of cash, whether it's $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, you don't deploy it all at once, okay? You buy a little bit at a time, a little bit here, a little bit here. I nibbled today. I think I spent, I don't know, maybe $2,000. I've got another 20 grand to play with right now, okay? From that Palantir trade, that profit I took, I'm reinvesting that, I'm redeploying that profit, you know, as the market dips and dips and dips and drops. And that's what the wealthy people are doing. They are not taking their emotions into play. They're being strategic and planning and executing. That is how this works. That is how wealth is built. So take your emotions out of it. And if you are about to retire, you should have been positioning yourself probably months ago, before the election. If you sold before and you went into bonds or something more conservative, maybe some dividend stocks that don't have a lot of volatility, you were a smart planner because you knew you needed that capital or that liquidity in retirement. But if you don't need that liquidity, if you have a 2 to 4, 5, 10-year outlook, you're probably sitting okay. Things will calm down. There's always going to be change in the world at the end of the day, and you cannot let your emotions get the best of you. All right? If you're positioned if you still have a job and you're able to still afford to buy, you know, this dip, take advantage of it. Don't get emotional, don't get fearful. You know, I'm going to continue to buy the market until I can't. That's the way it goes. I'm not going to put my emotions into it. I didn't even vote for Donald Trump, but I believe that he still has the best intentions for the country. Now, is it going to be messy? Yes. Do I think they could have been more tactical about the supply chain being completely disrupted? Probably. And it was funny. I just listened to a bunch of Tesla investors who were all for Trump, and this one guy, Jeff Lutz, he's a supply chain manufacturing expert in the auto industry, and he was completely upset about it. And I found that to be funny. You know, if you're going to support a guy as crazy as Donald Trump is, you better be ready for this type of volatility and this type of brash moves. That's the way he is. He's balls out. He doesn't care. I've known this about him from years ago. I did vote for him in 2016. And, you know, I didn't vote for him after that because I felt like he was just too raw dogging it. You know, but hey, that's where we're at. You know, he is the president, and I hope for the best for him, honestly. That's the way we all got to think. You know, you can't get emotional about this stuff. You can't put your emotions into it. All right, this is the United States. We'll figure it out, you know, and here's what'll happen. They'll have a couple tweets on the weekend or the next weekend. Oh, we resolved these trade deals, blah, blah, blah. And then the market will just skyrocket again, back to all-time highs. That is how it works. Now, it could take some time. You know, maybe this is a couple month process. We don't know. No one knows. No one has a crystal ball. But if you let your emotions get the best of you, it will destroy you in the stock market. That is the bottom line. No matter who's in charge, whether it's Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, doesn't matter who it is, who's in charge, we will always have volatility in the markets. So leave your emotions behind the door when you enter in the stock market, okay? And if you can't handle it, get out. That's the bottom line. If you're about to retire and you're complaining that, oh, everyone's retirement's ruined, they should have got out months ago, years ago. Man, we were just at all-time highs 2 or 3 months ago. You had the opportunity to get out, but if you're not willing to plan and execute in this world, you will lose. That's the way it works. I mean, when I approach retirement, I think I will be diversifying and going into more conservative, markets. I mean, even today, we've got high yield savings accounts and high yield CDs. Most people could roll their retirement into those accounts. But people don't want to spend the time to pay attention to how the world works and how the markets work and what investing is. You should have a 5 to 10 year outlook and be excited for drops like this. These are once in a generational type of moves that you have an opportunity to invest in if you do have the opportunity. So take your emotions and set them to the side. This is business. That's how it works. And I hope the United States can power through this and figure it out. I think we will. Humans in general have a nature to figure things out. That's how we roll. So, and every country will do it. No one's at war at this time. It's an economic war. It's business. There's no emotion involved. The Chinese aren't having emotions. They're fighting back, and the same thing with the Europeans. They'll fight back until people figure out that, oh, hey, maybe this is not a winning strategy. So, hey, let's get tariffs down to 0 for all sides. Who knows if that'll happen, but I have faith that I think we'll get there. So, because no one wants to lose. Everyone wants to prosper. That's the way it is. And that's the way you need to look at the stock market. Everyone wants to prosper, and we will have a V-shaped recovery eventually. So, it could take a couple months. Be vigilant, take a few nibbles here and there if you can afford it, and just be patient. Be patient. That's what I'm going to tell everyone on this channel. It's all about patience at the end of the day. Patience is virtue, all right? So don't get emotional, stay patient, and win, okay? So anyways, you guys have a wonderful day. Take a look at my previous video if you could, and thanks, guys.